I work a 9 to 5, so I have to film these after work. And it's always so funny, like getting ready to film and putting on makeup and stuff, because I usually don't wear makeup. And like getting kind of, in a sense, dolled up for a YouTube video at like 7 p.m. It's just funny. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am excited for today's video. We're gonna hop right into it because I just am really excited to share. This just kind of came to me, as far as the idea came to me, listening to another YouTuber that I love. I love her content, and it was a whole different topic. But she mentioned peace, and I just started thinking about the concept of peace and living a life of peace and trusting the Lord and all these things. And I just thought I would make a practical video on ways that I myself have learned how to live a life of peace. I'm excited. I'm gonna film the thumbnail and then we're gonna get into it. Okay. So this is in no particular order, guys. I am just literally thinking off the dome. I hope this is probably going to be a quicker video because it's really not too planned out, and I don't plan on spending a ton of time on each topic. The first thing that I thought of is how to live a life of peace, is to be a peaceful person. Be someone who carries peace. The church that I go to, we talk a lot about knowing what each other carries, and whether someone carries joy, someone carries authority, someone carries reformation, like knowing what you carry as an individual. But I think as believers, we should all carry some things, and I think one of those is peace. As a believer, we kind of have a mandate to author peace wherever we go. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying if something is a bad situation, you just pretend like things are peaceful and have a sense of false peace. But someone who carries peace in the way that we talk, in the way that we go about our lives, in the way that we interact with people who might be a little more difficult. Like, you yourself, don't be a difficult person. I think that's the first way that you can begin to live a life of peace and author peace in your own life, is to be the person who brings that. Maybe others would be frantic and crazy, and things are all over the place, and it's like all this fear and anxiety that we experience in today's culture. I think as believers, we have the ability to be countercultural. That's definitely the first thing that I think of. Like I said, this is in no particular order, but the first one for sure is to be someone who is peaceful. If you know that you kind of like to stir the pot, if you're one to start drama, if you're one to always be upset and angry and always want to start stuff, I think that is just an area of growth that you can just take to the Lord and just ask the Lord, like, God, this is not your character, the way that I'm acting, what I'm experiencing, the way that I just naturally go about situations. So God, help me be someone who carries peace wherever I go, into situations with people who don't know you, and invite the Lord into that process. So that's definitely number one. The second one is to evaluate where your trust is. I think a lot of times I can get very anxious and worried about situations because I have forgotten, because we so easily forget. As believers, I think I heard a quote one time that we don't always need to be learning stuff so much as we need to be reminded. I think it's so easy for us to forget with the cares of the world and all the seeds that are, scattered, that parable of the seeds being scattered and being plucked up by the cares of the world. Instead of rooted and grounded in Christ. That's definitely another thing. If you recognize that I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling worried and I don't have peace in my soul, because it's not really about the environment changing, it's about what you're feeling and how you're experiencing it. All I can do and focus on is how I'm experiencing the world around me and the situations around me. And so for that, understanding like where my hope is found. It can be very easy for your hope to be found in things that you see with your eye, or not be found in things that you see with your eye. But I think a beautiful thing of walking with the Lord is knowing that our trust and hope is in Him. Our faith is built on things we cannot see sometimes. and knowing that he's with us and that he's not a God that would lie. He's a man of his word. And reminding ourselves of truths. I think I mentioned this in a video before, of knowing your word so you can remind yourself when you forget who your hope is found in. And I think that he is the Prince of Peace. And so if we're abiding in him, we can experience peace in a world of chaos. Definitely putting our trust in Jesus and not the situation around us will definitely give us peace. The next one that I think of off the top of my head is knowing that people will always be people. It's so easy to kind of put people on a pedestal sometimes, and we like to think that they will be who they say they are, and sometimes they are, and I hope that I am, and I'm sure you hope that you are, and the people around you are who they say they are. But knowing that, again, we live in a broken world with broken people because of broken experiences, and nothing is as it is designed initially until Jesus comes and transforms it. Remembering that people will always be people, and the person you can count on more than anyone is Jesus. He's the one that you can lean on. So if you have a boss, or you have a spouse, or you have someone that you're reliant on for something, know that that authority has been given by God. And that person fails, just know that there's a higher up that you can go to, and it's not all lost. And so I think that's something that we can remind ourselves. I can remind myself of more often than I probably do, that people are only going to be people. I think, when I talk with friends about crazy situations that are happening, or they're asking for advice, or things are happening in my own life and I'm asking for wisdom, and it's just like, people are going to be people. That's the one thing they're going to do. Humans are going to be human. The more that you just allow that to be true and allow that to be what it is, which is just the fact that humans are human, and they're going to mess up, and they're going to fail you, and they're not going to get it right, and they're not going to be able to read your mind, and they're not going to be able to understand what's going on in your heart when they say certain things a certain way, or whatever the case may be. Understanding that, like, my hope was in Jesus anyway, so you can't really hurt me, you can't really offend me. I think getting to a point of being unoffendable is the goal. Of course, there are times where you are going to be offended. There are going to be times people hurt you so bad, and that is so valid and true, and you should acknowledge that. But it's important to know that, in summary, people are people. They're going to be people until Jesus comes back. The fourth thing that definitely comes to mind for me is acknowledging how you feel. I think for me, for so long, I suppressed a lot of what I felt in order to seem more Christian, or to seem like I had it all together, or to kind of tell myself, this is what it is, and God is who he says he is, and like what, and you tell yourselves, you remind yourself, like you should, but I was reminding myself in order to suppress and not to meet my pain. It was to suppress my pain. In order to really live a life of peace, you have to know how to regulate your emotions, and part of that regulation is being honest with yourself. I'm feeling anxiety about a situation, or I'm heartbroken about a situation, or I'm upset about a situation that I find myself in, even if it's the Lord leading me into that situation. I think sometimes when we know it's a good thing, we don't allow ourselves to feel the grief that comes with it. And that is so human, that's so natural, that's so allowed. And so I think one thing that I have been making a practice of doing is regulating my emotions, meeting myself, talking to myself, my inner person, and allowing them to experience, like, I feel really sad. This really hurt. This really sucks. I hate this. This hurts, allowing myself to experience emotions that I used to think weren't allowed as believers. Jesus meets so many people in the Bible in the midst of their pain, not their progress, not their success. He meets them in a place of pain, sees their pain, weeps with them even, and then does a work of healing. That is what we're invited to with Jesus in our day-to-day. And so I think in order to have a true sense of peace and not a false sense of peace because you're suppressing what you feel, Be honest with yourself. Take time. I journal. I try to journal every single day, and I am like 100% honest about what I feel. And a lot of times, like I know people write to God or they write to their journal or whatever. I write to myself. That's like my time. Of course, the Lord is involved in it, and sometimes I will begin to reference him within my journal entry. But a lot of times it's me writing to myself, because a lot of times we're thinking things, we're suppressing things, we're experiencing life, and we're not really connecting with how we feel about what we're experiencing. If you're not one to journal, I never wanted to journal, and then I got to a place of such isolation that it was the only thing I could turn to. And ever since I did that, I started in college, it's just been a practice since college. And so I would highly, highly, highly recommend you have some form of getting alone with the Lord, processing with your inner self how you feel about things. And so you can experience a true sense of peace, because there's nothing like falling asleep and having the best sleep of your life after you've cried your eyes out. So that just goes to show you that there is such rest and a sense of authentic peace. Peace doesn't always mean happy. Peace means I understand what's happening and I've learned to be okay with it, and I'm processing, but I'm okay with this. And so yeah, even in the way that physically manifests with you, like knocking out after a good cry, allow the Lord and allow yourself to process how you're feeling, so you can truly experience true peace. God promises a peace that passes beyond understanding. And so even when you don't understand how you feel, when you don't understand the situation, when you don't understand what's going on, there is a peace that's available. But in order to heal, you have to reveal. It's such a cliche phrase, but it's so true. And it's so easy for us not to do that in the day-to-day. When you experience times where you just can't plug in, you can't get engaged with the Lord, you can't experience him, or other people in your life. I have a weird vibe with this person, we're not really getting along, like there's this weird sense, you feel that weird energy when things aren't settled and when there's not true peace. Even if you're not arguing or having it out in person in real life, you can feel when there's this false sense of peace. It's an energy that you feel. Be honest about how you feel and let the Lord meet you there, because he will. Just like you wouldn't like if someone wasn't really telling you how they felt, and you're like, I know that's not how you feel, and they're like, no, it's fine. We all hate when people do that. I do that all the time, and I hate when I do that, and that's okay. But when you're in a settled, quiet place in your mind, in your life, whatever, get real with God, and he will get real with you, and he'll remind you of who he is, and he'll remind you of the promises, and he'll remind you within his word what he said, and you can create true peace within your life. The last thing that I want to offer up that I've been really learning and growing in is this idea of getting real with your yeses and your nos. I think for someone like me, I am pretty high achieving. I like to do a lot of things all the time and be good at everything that I do. And it can be a bit crazy at times, and it can be a bit of not so healthy if I don't manage my time and capacity well. I think one thing that has really shifted my mindset is a friend was sharing with me the importance of not just like, I might have the time in my schedule, my Monday might be free, but if I'm exerting energy and so booked and busy Saturday and Sunday, Monday, I'm gonna be drained emotionally, and I'm not gonna be able to, even though I am present with you, I'm not gonna be able to fully show up. And so I think that's so important when you are creating your life of peace with the Lord, that you're looking at your life and you're asking God and inviting him into the process of, what should I be saying yes to? What do I have capacity for within this season? And what don't I have capacity for? There are times and seasons for everything under the sun. And what's important is taking the time to ask the Lord, what is my yes for today? Focus on the next yes. If you're anything like me and you have a lot of dreams, or even if you have one really huge dream, it can seem like this huge far off thing that is really hard for you to get grasp of today. And there can be a lot of anxiety in that and decision making as to what I say yes to, what's an opportunity, what's a distraction. And I think there's an invitation to know that God's going to give you all the tools that you need to accomplish what you need to. And your only response is to say yes to what he's asked you to say yes to today, this week, this month. I would encourage you, if you feel like your life is chaotic, because there are seasons and times where my life was chaotic, and they were all good things, and I loved all of it, but it wasn't sustainable for me. I'm one person. I have only so much energy that I can exert, especially if I'm not getting enough sleep that I need anyways. And so I think that's important, is that you monitor your yeses and your nos, and you ask the Lord and invite him into what maybe is a bit much, and what's something that you know you need to be called to. What do you want to do this year? What do you want to do this month? What do you want to do for the next 6 months? And whatever you want to categorize as a season in your life, take the time with the Lord to ask, what are you calling me to this season? And list out the things that he's calling you to in this season. And then you can really therefore monitor what you're saying yes to, if it's going toward that, or you can say no to things. It's like, I don't have capacity for this. I can only go to so many events, and I can only be a part of so many things, and I can only say yes to helping in so many areas before I'm burnt out and I'm drained because I've said yes to too many people. I couldn't uphold my yes. I think that's a pet peeve of mine. And so I've had to check myself of like, you don't like when people do this, where they overcommit and underdeliver. So don't do that yourself. And I think it's just a horrible feeling when you know you can't show up for someone in the way that they need you to. And so I would say that's the last and probably one of the most important things, especially if you're someone who wants to accomplish a lot with the Lord throughout your lifetime. Know that a lifetime is a long time. There's always time to do the things that you want to do. It's never too early, never too late. God's always on time. And so I would encourage you with these things. If peace is something that seems so hard to obtain, maybe if you think about these concepts that I've shared, it can really help you kind of create a framework for your life that is sustainable and that allows you to enjoy your life with the Lord, enjoy this adventure with the Lord. And if you're not a believer, this peace is available to you. Feel free to message me, DM me, and we can definitely chat about it, because I think one thing that I experienced so heavy was so much anxiety, because I wasn't putting my trust like in anything but myself, really and truly. My trust was in myself and how I could perform, how I could show up, how good of a person I was to someone. And if I continue to be a good person, then maybe I'll get that back. And then there's this weird, like, I can't make peace. I'm just a person. I can't create peace without my life, without him helping and leading and guiding me and reminding me of who I am in him. And so that's all I want to share. I hope this is encouraging and this is insightful and something just to think about and reflect as you kind of process what your life looks like, and maybe how you could make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more peaceful and relaxed, and not as crazy as American society would want it to be. So much access to all these things that can get our minds like crazy. So that's just like something I think about often, and I think that it's still available if we're intentional about it. So thanks guys for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.